What's going on, YouTube and cryptocurrency family? My name is Harry. I'm a crypto vet. Thank you for tuning back in. I hope everybody had a good weekend. We had a little bit of movement over the weekend, but not much. But we're going to go over where we're at right now as a whole and where we can go from here. So if you like that, if you like the content, please hit the like, hit the subscribe. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for all the support. If you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at XRP Veterinarian, and links for Twitch and Discord are going to be down below. So like I said, if you want any questions answered or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. Twitter doesn't really matter. This question here was from Jet, good friend of mine, who's been into crypto and been in the group for, I don't know, probably couple months now, but always ask good questions and very engaging. So I wanted to make sure I answered this in the video, and I'll also go over it again in stream later today. But the question was on the ETH BTC chart and whether or not this golden cross has anything to do with where we could see another alt season. So I just wanted to bring this up, and we will go over that a bit today, because yeah, this looks pretty good, right? Chart's going up and we have this big cross, right? But everything is perspective, and all has to do with time frame. You need to put the whole picture together before just making a move off of one chart. So this is an awesome question, and we're definitely going to go over that here today. But first, let's head over to CoinMarketCap, hit the refresh. We're getting a little bit of recovery here. We can see that total market cap is up to almost 1.4 trillion. Bitcoin dominance still roughly 46, and it looks like ETH prices, gas prices are going back up. It was actually at like 8 or 9 over the weekend. So if you wanted to do some ETH transactions and only get half raped, this weekend was the best time. And looking down here, we have Ethereum up 14%. We have mixed or mostly green all the way across the board. Let's take a look and see who our biggest gainers are. Oh, we have Internet Computer. So instead of being down 99%, is only down about 97. So this is a plus for the idiots like me who bought this. Good thing I only bought 3 at $400. But we have Quant is our biggest loser as of right now, and but overall the biggest thing is that we're starting to push up. So what does this mean? Are we headed to the moon now, or are we going to take a dump to the bottom? Well, let's go and take a look. We said that our Bitcoin dominance is around 46%. Well, we had this one pattern play out, this head and shoulders pattern. We reached it. We've kind of had some bouncing and consolidating here for the past couple of weeks within this range after we reached the full extension. So what does that mean? Well, there could be a couple things. We could, if we zoom in, be forming another pattern. So let's see, let's get some more definition. Let's go zoom in. So out of this big drop here from this head and shoulders pattern, we have now formed a potential pennant or a bear flag, whatever you want to call it. The same thing across all spectrums is we have a support, resistance, and resistance. And now we're bouncing in between here. Could Bitcoin rally hardcore, bounce off this 20 daily, bounce up, and then keep going to the moon? Yeah, sure. Why the fuck not, right? Is it more likely that alts will take over and Bitcoin will come down to maybe around the 43%? I would say that's a little bit more likely. But before that would happen, I would say that Bitcoin is going to stay around where it is now, and then it is going to try again to get back up, to get some of that dominance back, get some more money in, which is going to put Bitcoin's price into the 40s, low 40s, high 30s, hopefully, if we were to retest this area. And then at this point, alts would start to take over. Not that Bitcoin's price would go down, Bitcoin's dominance would go down as its price traded sideways to up, but then alts would have a mini season here in the next like 1 to 2 months before Bitcoin had its real big rally. Then alts would have their last rally, and that would be the whole cycle, right? If we were kind of copying the past and going from there. So this is kind of what I'm looking out for. So if we zoom into Bitcoin, we both all know that I'm very bullish in the long term. We have our cycles here. This chart was just very simple to make with the Bitcoin halvings, and then we also just have one unique thing that I just found really cool. If you take the high in May of the cycle before, in the 4th year of each cycle, that high became the bottom in the next cycle, and I have that listed across. So if the 3rd time's the charm, that means we are technically about 30% or 50% lower than what the low of the next cycle would be. Now again, not financial advice, just some doctor / idiot. Don't listen to whatever the fuck I say. Learn how to make up your own decisions based off of what you see. So if this is the case, we're 50% below what the lowest price would be over the next 3 years. So, and forever, right? So that to me, that would say that this is a good buy. Right. Now, personally, I am not investing as much into Bitcoin at this time. I am still doing the riskier route with altcoins, not just XRP. I have a whole portfolio. I know a lot of people link me just to XRP, but I actually have a vast amount of knowledge on lots of different cryptos, from everything in DeFi to layer 2 solutions, as well as a lot of different NFT platforms and how the different consensus models actually work in comparison to just hash rate and mining, and why these other staking and other types of blockchains are actually showing lots of prominent results here in the space. So, I do invest in a lot of other things, but if Bitcoin goes up, the rest of the market is going to follow with it, right? Everything just comes down to timing. So I think right now that we are still at a bottom, but let's go ahead and think of some of the bad stuff on top of the good stuff. Well, one, we have either potentially a huge head and shoulders pattern forming, right? Here's the left shoulder, head, right shoulder. If that was the case and we did an actual measured move, it's, I believe, puts us to like negative $3,000, something like that. So, or back down to $2,500. So very, very unlikely that I think that'll occur. We did have a very long wick on this last week candle. However, we did still close it as a bearish candle, but lots of buyers here. So now the question is, will we continue this down and the bears win, or do we start to show some maybe upward movement, maybe get above this 20 daily exponential moving average? Well, if we zoom in, I can just bring up the daily here, and there's a couple other patterns that we could look at. If I just say hide everything, we see this, we have our moving averages. Well, me for moving averages is really good for trading as far as bounces and things like that. But when you're still very uncertain, to me, they're kind of worthless, right? You can have a cross, bullish, bearish. You can pick any single value you want. It could be daily, over weekly, onto a 4-hour chart. You can make some average pick the story that you want to succeed, right? So how do you make it as non-biased as possible? Well, then you have to kind of ignore some of the technicals and go to fundamentals. And in this case, crypto fundamentals, for most of them, or most of the bigger ones, I'm not going to say all of them, there's 10,000 plus cryptos. Not all of these are going to survive. That's just the way it is, business and how things go. But the future for Bitcoin is very, very good, regardless of all the FUD, all these things. There's a solution, there's a way to fix it. So in time, this is still going to be worth something a lot more than now, especially when you take into account inflation and all these other economic factors that most of us don't even talk about when it comes to crypto, because you could just turn that into a whole other channel, right? So I try to just make it as simple as possible. That we know for sure inflation is coming, right? The dollar is going down in value. We can bring up the DYX, anything you want to do. We can prove that the stock market is overinflated, has too much money that has been falsely put into it. It is not sustainable. The stock market right now is just a big tether scam in a sense, right? We're putting something into it, but we don't really have anything to back it to postpone a problem until we can fix it, right? So eventually all this stuff is going to crumble, but hopefully we can do it in small phases and then, turn in around and not be so bad. But so if we have this here, we can see that we're still holding pretty tight on this little bottom. If we, which chart was it? Oh, I just got to put my charts back. If we look here, we can also come up with a couple different supports and resistances. I have this first line here because this was a support for 3 different times before we fell below it, and now it is resistance. The line above it is another one where we just have 2 resistances. We have yet to break above this one. And then, of course, we have just our only support at this time is this flat level support, roughly 28 to 30,000, because we have mostly wicks here. We only have wicks in this area. We don't have any full candle bodies on the daily. So if we were in a bad scenario, this could be a big descending triangle. And if we were to look back in history, this was a big descending triangle, flat support on the bottom, resistance we can't get above. There's the crash we had back in November of 2018 before we consolidated and then, of course, started where we're at now. Well, what if we're doing something like that? So we have 2 routes. We could do just this lower resistance. We never get over that. And then we actually come back down. This has a measured move of roughly about 10 to 11,000, which is equal to where the VPVR is. The next one is, say we break above this, we could get rejected here. And again, still a bearish scenario because descending triangles are considered bearish, more higher likelihood to break to the downside than to the upside. So, there's a lot of different scenarios and things that could be going on. If we take this same theory here and just overlap it onto the Wyckoff that we've all been watching, it's almost 100% perfect. The only thing we're moving around is just the time frame for which phase we're in. All the other support resistances are the same. If we put this little symmetrical triangle here for like a bear flag, you can see, whoops, we're getting rejected on it once, twice, and now we're coming to the climax of this resistance, the resistance from way up here coming down, resistance. The climax is right here, where also the 20 daily exponential moving average is, which is also right where there's a lot of volume support. So if this really is the spring in phase C, we have a double bottom showing us we went a little lower, we got support a little bit higher back here, showing that the buyers are in control, and we overcame one resistance. So now from here, if we were to move up, I could easily see Bitcoin not only just shooting up, but shooting up pretty fast to really test this VPVR around 36,500 to 37,000. But if we get rejected here, we could just continue going sideways for a while. So for me, if I can see us get above this like $36,000 and hold, this will be the first time in 2 months that we've broken all of these resistances, not just like only this one, or not being able to hold this as support. We're going to be breaking all of them and showing that this could have been indeed a bottom. So just bringing it even closer, this is how that intersection of all those resistances looks. You can see it's trying to figure it out. Will Bitcoin go? Not sure. Will it go down? Who knows? But that's what I'm waiting on for right now. Now, if we look over to Ethereum, very similar chart. We have the little triangle, we've been rejected, and now we're below it. However, can we get back into the pattern and maybe this big ass bear trap fool everybody? Or indeed, are we going into a bear market and this will be the first confirmation of such? So now back to that first question that we had. If we look at Ethereum against Bitcoin on the weekly, so we know right now if we look on the 4-hour or the daily, it's looking like we could potentially be seeing some movement to the upside. We're in between support resistances. We already fell out of the pattern. This could be the confirmation for a breakdown, or this could be the last ditch effort to get back above. But the question earlier was if we could potentially go into a little alt season. Well, we said that we could if we were to drop down to here, right? This would result in Ethereum and all the other ones having to take market back from Bitcoin to drop its dominance. So we could potentially have a little alt season before we see Bitcoin go crazy. Although for that scenario to happen, I do think that Bitcoin does need to hold above a certain value before that plan would actually work. Well, let's say that did happen. Well, then we have these two averages here that we pulled up from this chart here and trying to think, is this cross something legit? Well, I use moving averages all in together with many other indicators to help me determine, is this a good time to buy or is this a good time to sell? And that's all I'm trying to go with when I first come up with a strategy. Should I be buying or should I be selling? So if you look at where the market is right now, which one should you be doing? In my opinion, you should be buying. This is not a time to sell. We're not at that point yet. Once I know which area I'm in, then I can come up with a plan on how to trade it, right? If this is a buying opportunity, I should be longing. If this is a selling opportunity, I should be shorting, right? So it sounds complicated, but if you break it down into bite-sized pieces, it's a lot easier to manage how you're going to approach these, very uneasy markets. And I like to do that with simple this or this, A or B answers. Is it this or is it this? And then you go from there. Well, to build the chart that we get from Discord here, I went ahead and pulled up the weekly on, where's it at? I went ahead and pulled up the weekly on Binance for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and I added two moving averages. I did a 200 weekly simple moving average, and I did a 50 simple weekly moving average. Was able to come up with the exact same chart, and yes, we are about to have a golden cross. Well, these crosses here kind of happen a little bit late, right? The reason why this moving average is shooting up so fast is because we had this large rise right here. So this cross here is letting us know what's already occurred. I think the cross now actually happening is letting us know that it's more likely to continue. But unfortunately, seeing the cross now is just letting you know that, oh yeah, we had a huge pump here at the not too long ago. So Do I think it's a good buy and stuff now for ETH and all that? I do. Again, not financial advice. But this indicator here, when you add it on top of a lot of other things, like we have a symmetrical triangle here that we've broken out of and confirmed. We also are bouncing in between two Fibonacci values here, and typically we would bounce off of this 382 and then, you know, pretty much shoot up to new highs. I think this is definitely a good buy in comparison to Bitcoin. You know, this is a very cool and interesting find, but I definitely don't think this is the only indicator you should use to dictate, you know, where you go from here. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on this. And Jet, I hope that answered your question. And if you have more questions, we'll definitely go over that later. And last, we'll just take a look at XRP real quick. And you can see it's the same thing. We're down, consolidating, but right now XRP is struggling to stay above this 65-cent area. Bitcoin pumps up. I definitely think that XRP and many of the others will follow. So we'll keep an eye on this, and I'll see if I can find any other interesting things in the charts. But for the most part, everything's the same, guys. So if you have any questions, anything, please let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.